I'm going to explain to you the difference between R. Kelly's trial and Diddy's trial. Now, for those of you who saw my short that I posted yesterday, you will see that I mentioned Vlad, Sammy Gravano, Michael Franchese, and others. Before I begin, folks, please subscribe, like, share, and all that good stuff. Lindy, it looks like it's you and I here. So we're going to give this a little chance. We'll see if we get some people here. Okay, there's Keisha Taylor. There's my friend Crazy Chris. All right, good. We're getting some people here. Oh, Tommy, how are you? Hey, folks, I wanted to mention, okay, I just got my last order, which I just went to the post office and mailed, and it was from Stefan, who comes here often. So I think it's the Stefan that comes here. So I want to thank him. And, once in a while, somebody to purchase an autographed book from me, I give them a phone call. So I wanted you to know that there. So don't be surprised if you order an autographed copy of my book, you will get a phone call from me, which is normally a charge of $50. Okay? So you get it free when you purchase an autographed book. Keisha, thank you for hitting that thanks button. You're awesome. Folks, don't be ashamed to hit that thanks button because, I got a lot of stories that I'm going to be coming to you with, and I got a lot of research that I'm going to do, and I'm going to be explaining to you how people get indicted, okay? Because people don't understand. Well, you heard about grand jury, but you don't know who they are, what they are, and how they happen. You don't know how an investigation begins. So, I'm going to be explaining that there. I'm going to be explaining everything from the beginning of the investigation right down to the trial. I'm going to be doing it in separate, I might do story 1, story 2, story 3, something like that. I've been, let me have some coffee here. Some of you folks have been sending me your love through my PayPal and other places, okay? And I want to remind you, okay, if you are not yet a member, okay, I have memberships, okay? And you can just go up there to my profile there, and you could join a membership, and there's 2 levels, I think, okay? All right? But join that membership, and it's much appreciated. Okay, you can see it goes $4.99, $9.99, something like that there. Honestly, God, I can't even remember. Okay? Let's talk all right, why did I mention Sammy Gravano, Vlad, and Michael? Okay? Because if I'm pretty sure I heard them on Vlad and elsewhere saying that they never heard of one person being indicted on a RICO case. Okay? There have been several, one person being indicted on a RICO case. But let's take R. Kelly's trial. You heard me before say that R. Kelly's was in the Eastern District of New York. Diddy's was in the Southern District. They're 2 different districts. And Diddy's began with Damien, and what was his name? Michael Damien? something like that there. And then it was given to Maureen Coleman, who I say was terrible. But in the Eastern District, I always said they got better prosecutors there. One of the prosecutors on the R. Kelly case, her name was Elizabeth Geddes. That's a name that I know very, very well because she was the prosecutor on the Colombo crime family indictment that I was indicted on. So I know that district really well. It's on 4th Street in Brooklyn. Okay? Now, R. Kelly was convicted of racketeering RICO charge in September 2021. A federal grand jury in Brooklyn, New York found him guilty of 1 count of racketeering and 8 counts violation. Steve, there's my friend Stefan. Thank you, Stefan. I just mentioned your name, okay? Stefan, you bought one of my last books. I got 1 book left, but don't sweat, folks. Anybody wants it, we already placed a new order. It'll be here around September 15th, okay, the printer said. Okay, so I'll have I got another 100 books coming, so you don't have to worry about it. But Stefan, your book is already in the mail to you, and I want to thank you for your purchasing my book, okay? Stefan is from Ohio, great state, folks, and a great guy. Thank you, Stefan, and thank you for hitting that thanks button. I appreciate it, buddy. Okay, let's get back. And now the Mann Act. Everybody says the Mann Act is nothing. He shouldn't get any time on it. Give me a break. If it was nothing, they would not have a maximum of a 10-year sentence on it. But people don't understand these things, okay? So, I don't know why. People, they make up their mind on something and they're wrong, but yet they stick to it and they don't want to listen. You know, I always say, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth to do twice as much listening than talking. Okay? There's Lena, thank you, and Angie, thank you for coming. Okay? All right. His conviction was centered on a prosecutor's argument that he and his entourage constituted a criminal enterprise that used his fame and resources to exploit women and children. Now see, R. Kelly had children. That was a big thing. The enterprise prosecutors successfully argued that Kelly and his network of managers, bodyguards, and assistants operated as a criminal enterprise. Their purpose was to recruit women and young girls and cover up his illegal activities. Now, they really had the same thing in Diddy trial if Maureen Comey would have tried it properly. But she didn't. And I don't know why. Okay? I don't know why. It's really crazy. But you see the similarities, okay? You see in the Diddy trial, you heard KK mentioned, you heard his bodyguards mentioned, all right? His accountant and manager, they all testified, okay? But she didn't indict none of them. I don't see where they were indicted, but they were indicted on Kelly's case. You see how better the Eastern District, Susan Jill, thank you. God bless you, honey. I appreciate that there. All right, hit that thanks button, folks. Trust me, it helps me out an awful lot. All right, let me read more. A jury found Kelly guilty of 9 counts, which included racketeering and 8 Mann Act violations. Okay, now let me explain, okay? The racketeering, the RICO charge, the judge could sentence you from 1 to 20 years for each RICO charge. But here there was only one. Alma Hernandez, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay? Alma, I got one book left. If you want an autographed copy, you gotta better grab it today. Okay? Because it's gone. Marie King, thank you so much. All right? Marie King. I appreciate you, Marie. I appreciate you all. You know, you're all my family here. Okay? The Mann Act violations involve transporting women and girls. Same thing as Diddy. Diddy's got 2 of them. He was lucky that this jury did not find him guilty of the RICO. Now, they should have, because I picked out 4 of the predicate acts that were absolutely there. Kelly had them. Diddy didn't. So you see the difference? Every district and every U.S. attorney is good. You got some good ones, you got some bad ones. Okay? In June, a judge sentenced Kelly to 30 years in prison. Okay? Now, I'm going to assume 20 years was under RICO. The other 10 years were for the Mann Act. He had 8 of them. The judge went light. He gave him a little over 1 year on each Mann Act. But he ended up with a 30. His appeal was denied. And the second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the conviction in February 2025. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear it. Now, for those of you who kept up with R. Kelly, you see his lawyer came up and he was being threatened, his life was in danger. You know, I always said, be careful what you ask for. Now, I know that was all a ploy on his end to try to get out of prison. But see, that there could work in the reverse. Because more than likely with R. Kelly, what they did, okay, you feel unsafe here in general population, let's put you in special housing for a while, by yourself, 24 hours a day. See, those are the kind of things that happen. That's why I say, be careful what you ask for, because you might get something worse, okay? Now, R. Kelly was not indicted by himself in federal court. While the New York indictment named only him as the defendant. So, he was not the only one indicted, but he was the only one that went to trial. Somebody asked me if I gambled. Remind me in a little bit, and I'll get back to that there, okay? Prosecutors aligned he operated a racketeering enterprise with the help of his associates, which included manager, bodyguards, and assistants. Same thing as Diddy. But Diddy got found guilty. Now I'm going to tell you something. In all honesty, I feel that the jury was tampered with in the Diddy case. That's my thoughts. That's what I think. Okay? I might be wrong. I might be right. I don't know the answer. Maybe someday We'll find out, okay? Okay, here we go. Racketeering. This primary charge alleged that Kelly led a criminal enterprise that systematically exploited women and girls for his own gratification. The racketeering count was predicated on several criminal acts, including exploitation of children, forced labor. Did he have that? Kidnapping. Did he have that? I can't remember. Okay? Bribery. Did he have bribery? Absolutely. Okay? You all seen the what I did at the Intercontinental Hotel where he was hitting and kicking Cassie, all right? The guard from there, the security guard, got a bribe from Diddy of $100,000. Okay? So, there were other charges that they could have found guilty, other predicate acts, were the gun charge, the drug charges, but the jury didn't do that. Those were very easy predicate acts, and all they needed was 2 predicate acts, okay? But they didn't get it, and did he? So what did he get? How long will he get? Everybody says the Mann Act is no big deal, but yet it holds 10 years on each one. Diddy did not get bail, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times he was denied bail. And ironically, it was for the same reason that I got denied bail. Violence. Violence and violence. Now, you could check any court in the country, any police place in the country, and you will see. I had no violence on record. But the judge said because I was close friend for 50 years with Sonny Franche that I was a violent person. Okay? And I got denied bail. Diddy got denied bail, not because of the Mann Act, not because of the RICO, because people get bail on the RICO charge. But if you got violence, you are not getting bail. And that Diddy's got violence all over the place, okay? I don't care what, you're wrong about saying that Diddy has no past criminal case because he does, okay? I found a case on Pacer in court records, I think the year was 1991, okay? Where he was indicted again in the Southern District of New York. I forget what the charges are. I'm going to have my son dig that out of Pacer again, and I'll come back to you on, all right? But 1 week later, 1 week, the charge was dismissed by a magistrate in Washington, D.C. Now, most of you don't understand the law. He was indicted in the Southern District, but the charges were dropped in Washington, D.C. You know why? That's when he became an informant. Now, it's all over the web. It's all over every place that Diddy was an informant for the FBI. Who he put away, what he did, I don't know. I don't have that answer. All right? I don't know. Christie, all right? Christie asked, Diddy will get out early. Bill Cosby got out early. He should get 50 years. Remember something about Bill Cosby, okay? Bill Cosby had no violence. No violence in the Bill Cosby case. Now, he was represented by my friend Tom Azarello on that case. There was no violence, okay? That's why Bill Cosby got out, okay? You folks don't understand. Violence is a very serious thing, okay? All right? Shanika, okay? In reference to your question, there's a lot of suspicion of people, all right? Yeah, it's all over the net, folks. Just don't take my word about Diddy being an informant, okay? People on the street even told me he was an informant. So that's not going to carry very well for him in prison, okay? Yes, Chrissy, he assaulted women, he beat women, and I don't like women. I don't like men who beat women, okay? I just don't. I like to give those guys a beating, okay? I mean, that's deplorable that these guys, people do that there. Folks, have you hit that thanks button yet? Have you subscribed to my channel? Okay? And, I asked you to share it and I asked you to like it. And, it's just not me. I don't know why. People just don't like hitting the like button. I can't understand that there. Okay? You're right, Hot Wang. How are you, buddy? Nancy, he's not in jail for that. No, he's not. But you can bet they're investigating because there's a new sheriff in town. His name is Jay Clayton, appointed by Donald J. Trump, president of our country. Okay? Hey, Judy, if you don't think I deserve a like, you could go. Okay? All right, Judy Schreier? Okay? Hey, where's Nancy? Nancy Lyon. Let me explain something, folks. Everybody said, oh, he's going to get a pardon from Donald Trump. Yeah, give me a break. That's why, all right, he's going to get a pardon. But yet, President Trump's new appointee, new guy in charge of the Southern District, Jay Clayton, is asking the judge to give Diddy the maximum sentence, okay? Which is 20 years plus enhancements, all right? Yeah, that's a good one. I got to read it. Hot Wang said, anybody that sounds like me after a fifth of gin deserves a like. I love that, buddy. Thank you. All right? If you don't like, who is that girl? Said, oh, why do I deserve a like? Well, give me a dislike. Give me the thumbs down. Okay? You can do that too. Because that helps me also. Okay? Sailing girl, I'm 80 years old, buddy. 80 years old and I'm still going strong. I don't know how I do it. All right. Steve Bano likes the artwork behind me. Hey, folks, we're up to $31 over here. I want to thank all those there. All right. Hi, Marie King. Oh, Lena, thank you. I love you, honey. She says I look 10 years younger. That's 70. I'm going to start telling people I'm 65. You think I can get away with it? What do you think? Huh? That would be cool. I do that sometimes. I got to be honest with you, okay? Sometimes I tell people I'm 65 years old. Hey, what are you going to do? All right, people say, oh my God, you don't look 80, you look 65. I say, yeah, that's what I am. Okay? You know, Steve, I grew up at a time that I wish everybody could have grown up at a time like I did. Okay? I grew up in Rome, New York. Steve just asked me if I grew up when blacks were known as Negroes. Okay, yes, I guess I did. Okay. You know, Nancy Flowers, thank you for coming through there, honey. Appreciate it. All my love. Okay. Uh, uh, you know, there's not 1 ounce of prejudice in me or racism or anything like that there. I grew up, I had friends that were black. I mean, it was just very normal thing for us in New York, okay? And, you know, a lot of you don't know the history. I'll give you a little history. Okay, you all know that I was affiliated with the Colombo crime family, an organized crime group out of New York. All right, and you guys all know what the Ku Klux Klan are and what happened. All right, we went to defense against the Ku Klux Klan for the blacks. The Italian mafia did, and you know what? They backed right down. Okay. Now I'll tell you a story. All right. I never knew about racism. I never knew about that stuff. I was from New York. All right. Annabella, happy birthday. Your birthday was yesterday. Everybody, oh, David, my name is Annabella. You're using your father's phone. And your birthday was yesterday, 29th of August. And I assume you were only 20 years old. Ah, thank you. Okay. Annabella. But I joined the Army in 1963. I ended up in airborne infantry training in Fort Gordon, Georgia. And Fort Gordon was outside of Augusta, Georgia. It's, you know, basic training is 8 weeks. And in the 7th week, our CEO gave us a night out that we can go and have a dinner in the town. My bunkie was a black boy named Armstrong, one of the nicest people that you ever want to meet. I talked about this story before, but I'm going to tell you again, okay? I talked about this. Armstrong, this guy was just an amazing guy. So there were four of us. We walked in to Augusta, Georgia, looking for a restaurant to go eat. We found one. And then when we get to the door, there was a guy at the door saying, Armstrong can't come in. All right? What do you mean he can't come in? Why can't he come in? Okay, I was very upset. All right, and Armstrong's pulling me and say, Ori, no. They had two doors. Black's in that door, white's in this door. I said, and I look, I'm arguing with the guy, the bodyguard, the security, what do you want to call him? All right? I said, this guy's wearing the same damn uniform I am. All right? This guy is willing, all right, to put his life on the line for this country, just like the rest of us are. And you say he's not allowed in this restaurant? Okay? I never heard of this shit in my life. Okay? All right? Never heard of that before, folks, until I was in the Army. As it turned out, they had ropes dividing the restaurant. We found a table where the rope went right through the middle, and Armstrong sat with us. But I'll never forget that. You know, and I hope someday, I don't know, I would like to find Armstrong, because one of the best guys that I ever met in my life. Okay? So I wanted to tell you that story and share it with you. Okay? Folks, I'm going to be telling you how indictments are. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer here today. Okay? I normally don't. I try to stay here for a half an hour. And well, moral, Jake, is being religious, nothing wrong with it. That's great. I pray every night. I pray every morning. Okay? So, you know, nothing wrong with that. And listen, folks, once again, I just want to mention the memberships. Okay? Please go join a membership. There's different one from $4.99 a month. Okay? And things that you get special treats. And for those who don't know it yet, all right, anybody that orders an autographed copy book from my website, you will get a free phone call from me. That's a $50 value. You'll get it for just purchasing my book. Okay, and you get to talk with me and ask me some questions that you would like to have. Yeah, Morrow, Jacob, yeah, I'm here to sell stuff. Yes, I am, okay? I'm here to make money, just like everybody else is on YouTube, okay? So you want to put me down for? I'm a hustler, all right? I'm 80 years old. I came out of prison with $150 to my name, okay? $150 to my name. That's what I had in the commissary left when I got out of prison, okay? That's what I had. You're asking me how I went to prison, okay? It's all right here in my book, okay? And I told you many times, I was indicted on a Colombo crime family indictment out of the Eastern District of New York. I was arrested here at my home, a few blocks from here in Beverly Hills, at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'll call you again, Stephen, after the show. Okay, buddy? Hey, Lindy, let these people who leave the nasty messages, I want to be able to read them in. Okay, you're holding too many for a review. I want to read and see who these people are. I bet they're not real people, and I bet they're bots. Okay? I bet you want to bet on that there? Look at folks, I've been threatened. I've had guns put in my mouth, my head. I've been stabbed. I've had it all. I'm here. I'm a man that has no fear. Because, you know, what's the worst that could happen? Okay? If it's meant to happen, that's my demise, it is. But psychologically, I'm prepared. Okay? I've lived a fairly good life. I've done more than most people ever do in their life. Yeah, Nancy, I don't know how bots are invented and who puts them out here. My son was trying to explain it to me yesterday. Okay, I don't know who they are. All right? Yeah, Lindy, hate speech against any religion is, all right, all right. You know, folks, I'm Catholic. I was born a Catholic, and when I leave this earth, I'll still be a Catholic. Okay? Do I go to church? No, I do not. Okay? When I do go to church, I go by myself, and I talk to the man privately and have talks. Moon Dream, there is a movie coming out called The Accidental Gangster, and it's about my life story. It's about my book, written by one of the best writers in Hollywood, George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run, Bad Boys, Middlemen, 29th Street, Comeback Trail, and I go on and on. George is one of the best writers. It's in the works, and hopefully September comes, we're going to have an announcement, okay? Yeah, La Cosa Nostra, I was part of that, Eric, and I was never a rat, okay? Yeah, George is a very nice guy, and, you know, fortunate to have him as a dear friend of mine. It's like my brother. You know, it took him over 4 years to write the script, because it's not easy to take and write a good script from a book. Any writer in Hollywood will tell you that there. But he did an amazing job. A lot of the things, the stories that are going to be in a movie are some things that are not in my book, okay? But conversation that I had with George. Thank you, Maka, for subscribing. You like my glasses? Thank you. All right? Manchester, England. Well, Manchester, I got a lot of friends up there in Manchester. Okay, I got a lot of friends in England. Okay, I'm very well known in London. And for those of you, there's Susan Jill. Hi, that's my friend Susan. She's been with me for a long time. Thank you. Steve Bainham, good man. Really great seeing all you folks here today. I didn't think anybody was going to come because it's Labor Day, and you know, when I went out to mail Stefan's book, and man, I just zipped to the post office and back. No cars. I love that there. Okay. Yes, the craze. Joey Pyle. Okay. All right, Joey Pyle. Joey Pyle, Dave Courtney, the Richardsons. Joey Pyle Jr. is like my third son. Like my third son. All right, folks. I'm going to begin today with how we got a good group here going, folks. All right? Folks, keep subscribing. If you have not, please subscribe. All right? And Welbecker, my thoughts on Diddy. Okay? I've given a lot of thoughts on Diddy. I don't like Diddy because I don't like men who abuse and beat women. Okay? I just don't. Okay? I got my own ideas in my head of what should be done with people like that there. All right? But I'll give you a little history and let's go back to 1979. My first federal indictment out of Syracuse, New York. The prosecutor was a gal by the name of Paula Ryan. I don't know why she didn't like me. And that case should have never, ever happened. Okay? Drew PD, I said it. Should have never happened. I had a business called the Ori Agency that I built up to a multi-million-dollar business. All right, I began in the cellar of my home with a desk right next to the washer and dryer machine. Okay? I worked my butt off and I built that business right through this. I was the biggest in New York State in the automobile after-sale business. And we sold insurance on the financing of loans when you purchased the car. Okay? We trained people inside the dealership how to sell you the insurance. In the event that you passed away, your car would be paid off. If you became disabled, all right, it would make your monthly payments. But I had to deal with the insurance company because I was the best agent they had. They gave me a special deal and allowed me the use of the money to build my business, which is I did. And that year, I would have been able to pay all the money back. It was $380,000. Okay, it was a lot of money back then. Still a lot of money. Okay? And because of one informant, one greedy person named Jim Generali, Ivan, I agree with you there, Ivan. I agree with you. Who's 67 years old? All right? 67 for a Welbecker Glazer's friend's birthday. All right, so let's go back to my indictment here, okay? The indictment began with a grand jury, like all are. But first they went to New York State, County of Oneida County grand jury found insufficient evidence to indict me. New York State grand jury, I thought I was home free. Okay? After 5 years, the statute of limitation would have came in. 6 months before that, I got indicted. I was living here in Los Angeles. I used to take my messages at my French hair salon in West Hollywood. Frankie Froyle. He was from my hometown also. And I walked in, the girl said, "You gotta call your lawyer." I called my lawyer, Lou Brindisi. You can read about this in my book. You gotta be careful what lawyer you hire too, because he screwed me well. Told me I was indicted. I had to appear in Syracuse court on the following Wednesday. Following Wednesday, I got on a plane, turned myself in. Okay? I never run, and I don't hide for nobody. I thought I could beat this case easily. Okay? They indicted me on 11 counts of mail fraud. Now, 11 counts of mail fraud. Automobile dealers sending me monthly reports was a normal part of business. Any of you got a business and people mail you a check through the mail? That's normal part of business. But yet, I get indicted on mail fraud. Only one reason they did that. They tried to make it an organized crime case, but they could not. They tried doing it because of that informant Jim Generelli, who a guy that the most he ever made in his life was 20-something thousand, and when he worked for me, he was making 100,000 a year. I gave him a brand new Lincoln. I opened up Las Vegas for him, got him lines of credit, introduced him to my friends in Las Vegas, and I had a lot of friends there, okay? I go back to Vegas to the 60s. Yes, Chase, I like black, white, green, I don't care what color anybody is. Somebody thinks they got my address. Okay, whatever. All right? But he was with me in New York. He knew that I knew Sonny Franchise. But he happened to be with me at the Warwick Hotel because he was also my bodyguard. Okay? And see, bodyguard, Diddy bodyguard, huh? See, he was my bodyguard. And he was there with Meyer and Alansky. He and I would meet in the lobby of the Warwick Hotel, and we would go, me and Meyer take a walk, okay? Every night we did that. But they tried, because I was friends with him, to make an organized crime. There was no connection. So it was just me, only me, on the indictment. And I was going to go to court and fight this. Back then, my lawyer got over 100 grand. Okay? Over 100 grand back then in the 70s. And I'll never forget, my lawyer was trying to make a plea deal with the U.S. Attorney, Paula Ryan, and I'm sitting outside of her office. And I finally said, screw this. This is my life, not his life, okay? And why are people trying to come up with my address, okay? Why? What interest, Glazer, where I live, okay? Your addresses are all wrong, okay? You don't know where I live, All right? Because you want to come here? I'll give you my address. Anybody wants to come here? Let me know. Let me know when you're in town. Okay? Yeah, Laura, they want me to get harmed. Well, they don't have the guts to come here. Trust me. Okay? Because if you come here and you want to harm me, just buy a one-way ticket, save yourself some money, okay, and don't worry. All right? So, anyways, I walked right in their room, right into Paula Ryan, the U.S. Attorney out of Syracuse, New York. I walked right in her room, her office. Her and my lawyer sitting there. And I look around. All I see were boxes of paperwork. And every box said, Ori Agency, Ori Agency, Ori Agency. I said, holy mackerel. This gal is serious. Well, they did offer me a plea deal of 5 years probation. I turned it down. Now the day comes to go to court. And Carmen Tripolone, who was a bodyguard to my lawyer and a friend, was there. And we're walking towards the courtroom. And this is out at Syracuse, New York. There was a big room with all prospective jurors. And Carmen said, Ori, take a look. Those people, they just came off the farm. They're not going to understand your case. Those are the jurors that going to make a decision. And I looked, and boy, I tell you, I mean, they were there in their booths. They were farmers, okay? Now we're standing and wait, and there's one young guy who robbed $15,000 from, he was a bank employee, and he robbed $15,000 from Marine Midland Bank back there. And I hear the judge, you're sentenced to 5 years in prison. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. He's getting 5 years for $15,000? That's crazy. I leaned over to my lawyer. I said, see if she'll still give me that plea deal of 5 years. If so, 5 years probation. I said, if so, let's take it, okay? And by the grace of God, I got 5 years probation and a fine. And that's another story for another time, okay? But, you know, we got a good group of people here. And yeah, you're going out to be Southamptons tomorrow for a party. Oh, the Hamptons are wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I love reading the comments, folks. I try to. Now, look at folks, please, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Hey, you know, Doris, we get some people talk trash. Okay, they're mainly bots that are not, I guess a bot is not a real person. I don't know. You know, you folks, I don't understand technology. That's why I always say I grew up at a better time. I grew up at a period where, you know, we talked with our neighbors, we knew our neighbors, okay? Okay? And we played with our neighbors. We didn't have to lock our doors. We were safe. Not like it is today. Okay? Today people don't talk to each other. Neighborhood kids don't go out and play with each other because they're glued to their phones. Okay? And that's what happens. Folks, you know what? It's a beautiful sunny day here. You know what I'm going to do? I gotta have something to eat. I have not ate today. I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I remember when I used to go out and eat and go out and have a dinner. I bet a lot of you do the same thing. You have a salad, a soup, an appetizer, and then you have the main course. Folks, I can't get past the appetizer, all right, because I get filled so fast. That's what happens. When you get older, you eat less. When you get older, you eat to stay alive, or you eat to live, okay? But, you know, we do all have to eat, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. And then I'm going to try to get myself about half hour, 45 minutes in the sun, so I get a little tan. We got winter coming, and you know, uh, Doris, you know what? I got meatballs and a sauce that I made, and I'm going to have fettuccine with it. All right? That's good, Jenny. You don't lock your doors, but you did in the city. Hmm. Yeah, I do my own cooking, folks. I'm not a bad cook, honest to God. Okay, don't particularly, one thing I can't do, and I'm really trying to learn, is to cook a steak like you get in a restaurant. You could buy the steak, but can you cook it the same way they do in a restaurant? Why is it so different? It must be the stove, am I correct? All right? Uh-huh. I'm feeling great, Nicole. Thank the Lord, I feel great. I'm energized. I did my exercise this morning, and I move around really good. Uh, I, yes, Lindy, I absolutely believe in freedom of speech. And, some people could leave a nasty message, Lindy. And, honestly, all right, unless if it has sexual, all right, yeah, those George Foremans do work very well. I used to have one before I went to prison. And I wonder what happened to it. Okay? I don't know. George Foreman was a great guy. All right? Somebody wrote me there, and there was a good question, all right? Have I accepted Jesus? Okay, well, I accept that there is a Lord, there is okay, and yeah, I pray to Jesus. But I want to tell you a funny story. I've been praying all my life, okay? And when I got arrested, indicted, I remember first jail I was in was detention center here in Los Angeles. And I'm talking to myself and I'm asking the Lord, why'd you do this to me? And I prayed I stopped praying for a while. Yeah, I really did. And, it was not until finally one day in prison, by this time I'm in Brooklyn, and I woke up. Things weren't going good. So I started praying again, and things turned around. So yes, I believe that prayer does help us, and we all should begin our day and end our day with a prayer to the Lord and give Him thanks. And I ask the Lord every night to help all the needy, the poor, and everybody in this world, and to make everybody happy and allow me another day so I can help the Lord make other people happy. So I hope that I'm making some of you folks here happy. And if you think that I am, please leave me a comment, all right, and let me know. I would appreciate that there. All right? And I always say, God bless you all, because I love you folks. You know, here it is. I've been here an hour already. Can you believe that? But, you know, the longer I am, the more people come in here. All right, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. All right, Jenny Coswell. Thank you. So, folks, I'm going to end this here and tell you what a grand jury is and how they're made up. And all right? A grand jury is a group of citizens who serve on a secret panel to determine if there is enough evidence to bring a criminal charge, indictment, against the suspect, acting as a check on government power. Read that, listen to that there. Acting as a check on government power. Okay? It differs from a trial jury. Yeah, we all know that by now. Or a PT jury. All right, that's jury by judge. Okay? But let me tell you, they don't have me in front of a grand jury to give my side of the story. All they got is the prosecutors and any informers they might have. So the jury is not hearing the other part, all right? They're only hearing one side. So that's why that saying came from, that a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. They're only hearing one side. And that's why there's so many indictments. That's why it's so easy for a prosecutor to get an indictment. Okay? If you are, like, you know, a defendant like I was or Diddy was, you don't get your chance until you go to a real trial. And by that time in federal court, they already got you. Okay? So, I don't know what I'm going to do. Grand juries, in my opinion, just bring the person to trial and let both sides argue out who's right, who's wrong, okay? But no, this is the law, this is what we gotta live by, and that's how it goes, okay? No, they don't hear both sides in the grand jury, Jenny. Not in the grand jury. In a trial jury, they hear both sides, okay? On our indictment, after the grand jury indicted, it was sealed. So it was a sealed indictment. We did not know about the indictment until the U.S. attorney said, boom, tomorrow morning, and we all got arrested. I got arrested here in Beverly Hills. 13 of my co-defendants got arrested in the New York area, New York, Queens, Brooklyn, all over, Long Island, all right, all over there, okay? And so ours was sealed and not unsealed until they had us all. All right, proceedings in the grand jury are private and ex parte, without the accused present, allowing witnesses to testify without fear and protecting the reputation of potential defendants. Grand jury's primary role is to decide if the prosecutor's evidence establishes probable cause to bring criminal charges. If probable cause is found, the grand jury issued an indictment. a formal written statement of charges that begins the prosecution. Grand juries can also act as investigative bodies, acting as a buffer between the government and the people and providing a check. I don't know how they're providing a check, okay? In some jurisdictions, particularly in California, grand juries have a civil function to investigate county and city government to ensure honesty, efficiency, and proper handling of public funds. Yeah. That's what a grand jury, folks, is. Okay, so that's why you could indict a ham sandwich. Now, maybe tomorrow or Monday, I'm not sure when, I'll be coming back to you folks, okay? And let's go, all right, what happens after the grand jury indicts? All right, I'm gonna tell you more about other indictments that I had, okay? What happened with them and so forth. So, you know, folks, it's time for me to go out there, get some sun. You know, if you had not subscribed, please do. All of you who've given me a thanks, I deeply appreciate it, okay? I want to assure you that it goes to good use. It goes toward the research I do to bring you accuracy, true facts, and true life stories of what really happened to me. So I want to thank you all. God bless you all. And, you know, be safe this Labor Day weekend if you're going, if you're traveling anywhere, all right? And I give you all my love and respect as usual. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Have a great day.